Item number 13 on the agenda is to consider and act upon a resolution entitled Resolution Making an Appropriation in the Amount of $115,000 for planning, design, construction, and installation of district-wide network upgrade and authorizing the issuance of a $115,000 bond of the town to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowing for such purpose. Do I hear a resolution? Attorney Collins.
Yes, again, a complete copy of this resolution will be made available to the public here tonight. Resolution making an appropriation in the amount of $115,000 for the planning, design, construction, and installation of district-wide network upgrades and authorizing the issuance of $150,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. Resolved, the sum of $115,000 is hereby appropriated by the town of East Lyme, Connecticut for the planning, design, construction, and installation of district-wide network upgrades, including administrative, financing, and costs of issuance related thereto. Said appropriation to be inclusive of any and all state and federal grants in aid thereof.
Thank you, Attorney Collins. Is there a second?
Second.
Ms. Holyfield. Mr. First Selectman?
Now, most likely, I will need Robin's help on this one. This is an upgrade to the East Lyme Public School server network. It has to do with the gigabytes and all of that stuff, which is far beyond my comprehension and capabilities. But since we are being forced to take more and more of the testing that our children are doing on computers, it's necessary not only to upgrade the equipment that we all did earlier this evening, but to upgrade the infrastructure that provides the support to that. And that's about as English as I can put it. If you want more technical data, Robin is here to talk about that. But this is spread throughout the middle school and the Lily B. Haynes and East Lyme Middle School, and this is a worthwhile and necessary project. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. First Selectman. Would anyone else like to be heard on this resolution? Ms. Rapp.
Karen Rack, 27 Black Point Road. Through you, Mr. Moderator, I'm kind of a nerd, so I would like a little bit of the specifics.
Okay, would anyone like to answer Ms. Rack's question?
I thought you did a good job. Robin McKenney, I'm the Technology Director in East Lyme Schools. The network upgrade that we're looking at is going from basically a gigabyte network, which we have right now, to a 10 gig network. And it's basically going from a 1-lane road to a 10-lane highway, so that we're carrying more data across our network at faster speeds. And this is important to us right now because we're doing a lot of state standardized testing on computers. And actually more and more as time goes on, it seems we found out we have a couple more things we're going to be doing next year. In addition, I'm sure you've all heard about the Common Core in the news. There's new curriculum requirements for schools, and a lot of that has heavy technology requirements for our students. So we're asking them to put together a lot of multimedia projects and spend a lot of time on the computer. So we need to provide a network that will support the education functions of our district and allow our kids to participate in the kinds of technology experiences that are available out there for them today. And then, of course, the other aspect of it is it does support our business functions. Because as you look at, I'm sure your own businesses, but ours as well, everything now is computerized. So I don't know if that's a good enough explanation. I'm happy to answer, more specific questions. What we're really looking at is putting in a new switch, a 10 gig switch at the middle school, and fiber cabling between the buildings and within the middle school and Lily B. Haynes and Flanders.
Thank you, Ms. McKenney. Does that answer your question?
Niantic is far, far off the network. We'd have to run fiber from the high school to Niantic, so it's kind of off the loop. So within the high school and within the Niantic Center School, we're waiting because those schools can hold off for right now. So that would, if we stay in the same configuration, we would look at that down the road.
Thank you, Ms. McKenney. Would anyone else like to be heard on this item? Seeing no hands, then we'll move the question to consider and act upon a resolution entitled Resolution Making an Appropriation in the amount of $115,000 for planning, design, construction, and installation of district-wide network upgrade and authorizing the issuance of a $115,000 bond of the town to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowing for such purpose. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by saying nay. The ayes have it, the resolution carries. The next item on the agenda is item 14, which was to receive communication. We've already noted that it's been received, so we'll move to item 15. To consider and act upon a resolution entitled, "The Resolution Making an Appropriation in the Amount of $715,000 for the planning, design, rehabilitation, and improvement of the tennis court facilities and authorizing the issuance of a $715,000 bond of the town to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowing for such purpose." Attorney Collins?
Complete copies of this resolution have been made available to the public attending this meeting. This resolution also needs referral to plan, an 8-24 referral to planning before construction can commence.
Madam Town Clerk, make a note of that for the record, please.
Resolution making an appropriation in the amount of $715,000 for the planning, design, rehabilitation, and improvement of the tennis court facility and authorizing the issuance of $715,000 bonds of the town to meet said appropriation and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. Resolved, the sum of $715,000 is hereby appropriated by the town of East Lyme, Connecticut for the planning, design, rehabilitation, and improvement of the tennis court facility, including the installation of new fencing and lighting and administrative financing and costs of issuance related thereto, said appropriations to be inclusive of any and all state and federal grants in aid thereof.
Mr. Seri. Is there any discussion? Mr. First Selectman.
Make it, I'll have to lean forward. You miss those teenagers when they're not here for this stuff, huh? This is an item that has been necessary for some time. These courts are in disrepair. They have been in disrepair. We have been looking for an opportunity to do this right and not to do patchwork, which meant that we wanted to wait until the bond debt and the graph that I showed you earlier could accommodate this type of activity without that much of an impact on our budget. And this seems to be the appropriate time to do so. We had a tennis court committee that was put together by a group of people from the school district, the Park and Rec Department, and the community, and it was determined that this is a necessary and appropriate project. This will redo the entire facility there, take down the old lights, put up new lights, redo the surface, and then have 6 good courts that we'll be able to use, not only for our stellar high school team, which for some reason have been able to make it to the state championship level on the courts that we have. Imagine what could happen if we had wonderful courts. But also this is a community enjoyed opportunity too. So this is a multi-use facility. It goes in with the development of the high school new field and track in terms of making this entire place a hub of the community for activity and to get out and walk around and enjoy some of the things we have to offer. So that's what this is, and there are people, I believe, here from the committee that if you have particular questions on this, they'll be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. First Selectman. Would anyone else like to be heard on this issue? Ms. Reck?
Karen Rack, 27 Black Point Road. Through you, Mr. Moderator, I know that there was some sort of problem underneath the existing tennis courts as far as some sort of spring or stream. Will that be addressed, and how will that be addressed so that we don't have that continuing problem?
Would you like to answer Mr. Reck's just now?
The technology that we're using, we're going to be changing to something called, Don Meltebarger, business manager. I'm not a citizen of East Lyme.
You are a citizen.
I mean,
You're not eligible to vote.
I'm here. Anyhow, the committee has looked into this, the technology of using asphalt. We're moving away from that because that's what tends to crack from the sun. It's not water running underneath it so much as ultraviolet lights, as cracks at the surface. We're going towards something called post-tension concrete, which is what's kind of become the industry standard. There's a 25-year warranty with it, and most of those right now, they can go to 50 years. So it has a long longevity. We're, along with the firm that we're looking to do, did our track at Cape and Island. And also, we're looking at Gale Associates, who also use help with our athletic complex. We plan on doing a geothermal study as part of the architectural service before we enter into any of this. Yeah, there's $50,000 in here for drainage work. Thank you.
Thank you, Don. Does that answer your question, Ms. Reck? Yes, it does. Okay. Would anyone else like to be heard on this issue? Ms. Welshock?
Hi, my name is Susan Welshock. I am not a resident of East Lyme. Used to be, former. I am the boys' high school coach at East Lyme High School this past 8 years. And yes, the boys and girls, we also have girls coach over here, they do finish in the top place. They're the ECC conference champion over 10 years. The courts have been in bad condition. They did get a patchwork repair that was done in the fall. And by the time the courts opened up in the spring, when it was time to get on, they were already cracked. So this post-tension concrete is an amazing thing. I did go out to a visit and see post-tension concrete. So it's a beautiful surface. It did not crack. We compared surfaces, and obviously we talked to many different people and facilities. And the 20-year warranty is an amazing. The courts now, I know this year we didn't use all 6 courts. I had 24 boys on my team, and in the past I've had up to 30-something. And I have 6 courts normally, which seems not enough. And this year I only used 5. I've duct taped the courts, I've weeded the courts, and I try to patch them as much as I can. It doesn't help. The lines are off the court. There's divots, there's holes, there's gravel because the asphalt's coming up. So they're really, really terrible. Plus the poles are coming up, they're raising up, and anyone that can go out there and see that, they would see that there's a big problem with that. I believe our athletes do need tennis. I believe we are the conference champions and have continued to be and want to continue in the future. With having courts for the next 20 years, we can ensure that tennis will be part of East Lyme High School. Also, I do junior USTA team out there. These USTA kids are 12 and under, 14 under, and 18 and under. Past 4 years, we've gone to the state championships. We won our division, and we represented East Lyme. This is all affiliated through the Parks and Rec, as well as running a junior and adult clinics in the evening at East Lyme, anywhere from 3 years old to the senior citizens. Eastern Connecticut Junior League, we're even putting that together for kids that don't require the USTA membership and has a little more, less restrictions, so more open to a lot more juniors. The tournaments, we've also put tournaments on there for everybody. Again, all age groups, junior adults, round robins, anything to get everyone involved. And also call it fun fitness. Because I know after dinner I would go out and grab a racket and go out and go play on the courts. And much younger, when my daughter was younger here, going to East Lyme High School, middle school, we'd go out there after dinner. And I know a lot of people go out there with their families and have exercise and fitness and go out all week long. Also, I know there's adult teams in the area that would love to use the courts. Again, they're in bad condition. Out of the 15 schools in our conference, besides Montville, I'd say our courts are probably the worst condition, yet we have the best team. So it's almost embarrassing. Also, USTA nationally recognized the junior team in East Lyme and said the small shoreline town of East Lyme has wonderful programs out there. That went national, that went global, that went all over. Our town was mentioned in that. So I just hate to see it go away. I don't think this can wait. If you wait, it's going to go away. As it is, considering where am I going to get courts, where am I going to book courts, how much money is it going to cost, is it going to cost? Are we going to be able to find a place for these guys to go? and what's going to happen to the community and everyone else that's coming up. In the next 20 years, you're talking kids being born today will be able to play tennis there. So I think we need to have it.
Thank you, Ms. Welshock. Would anyone else like to be heard? Seeing no hands, then we will move the question. All those in favor of to consider and act upon and a resolution entitled the resolution making an appropriation in the amount of $717,000 for the planning, design, rehabilitation, and improvement of the tennis court facility and authorizing the issuance of $715,000 bond to the town to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowing for such purpose, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed by saying nay. The ayes have it. The resolution carries. That is the last item on our agenda. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Mr. Seri, is there a second? No one wants to adjourn? We need a second. Okay. Second? Okay. All those in favor of adjourn, please signify by saying aye. Those opposed, nay. Meeting is adjourned.